What is it like being a Jamaican in Namibia? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, founder of Jamaicans.com, and today in Jamaicans to the World, I talked to David Jarrett and his family about living in Namibia. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, Xavier. We're good. We're good.
And I have with me Travis, Monique,
Hello.
and Renee. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
A lovely, lovely family. And let me tell you, we're going to have so much fun telling these stories. I love it. Just love having a family all here. So I'm going to start out with the Jamaicans, which it's going to be obvious who the Jamaicans are. So I'm going to start out with Monique. Where in Jamaica were you born, Monique?
I was born in Kingston.
All right, a Kingstonian.
Yes.
David,
Yeah.
where in Jamaica were you born?
Here's the irony. I'm from Falmouth, but I was actually born in the UK and went to Jamaica as a kid. And genuinely, I can say I'm Jamaican in the sense that I arrived in Jamaica on a Jamaican passport because my parents insisted that they were not British. So as far as my Jamaicanness is concerned, I'm either a Falmouthian from the Falmouth area, and a lot of people know me from St. Anne's Bay because I lived
Okay.
in St. Anne's Bay for a number of years.
And did you go to a high school while you were there in Jamaica?
Take a good guess, William Nib. So yeah, so Hussein, eat your heart out. I was there before you. And also another interesting tidbit is that Betty Johnson and Ben Johnson, because I know him as Betty, he's also from Falmouth. So Falmouth has done quite well in track and field. Unfortunately, I can't run.
What? No, you weren't eating the yellow yam?
Well, I suppose that has something to do with the British original roots. So too much bread and whatever it is instead of yam and bananas.
Bread
But
and
there
beans.
you go.
Bread and beans.
So now, Renee, you're from?
I'm from Rehoboth, a little town like 80 kilometers south of the country, and I was born and raised there.
Okay. So
Yeah,
just so everyone knows, you're Namibian.
I'm a full-blood Namibian.
All right. So we're getting a full scope today. And
Yeah.
Travis, you're Namibian also.
Yes, sir. I was born in a coastal town named Swakopmund, but I went to school and I grew up in the central city, Binduk.
So Travis, I have a question for you now. Do you tell people that your dad and your sister is Jamaican?
No, I don't.
All right, David, you're not sending him there with the Jamaican flag T-shirts and all that stuff. What's going on, man?
Ironically, no, because we can't. The few times we did manage to go to Jamaica since he's been born, those don't fit him to go to school now because he's grown. And but I do need to get a flag or two to wrap around. And knowing him, he'll probably use it as some head wrap.
Mm-hmm.
And Monique, which again, I don't mean to put you on the spot because again, I know you're in Namibia and you left Jamaica. You and I talked. You left Jamaica pretty young, but do you feel like a kinship there? Have you visited often?
Yes, we visit Jamaica quite regularly. I feel very much a Jamaican and a Namibian. I consider myself an international person. Yeah, international citizen.
Now, Renee, I'm coming to you. Has he taken you to Jamaica? And if he has, what were your thoughts?
Okay, the first time was just after we got married in 2007, and I was just shocked because of the roads when I arrived. But the second time, it was quite nice. Your culture is like basically the same what we are doing in Namibia. It's like very laid back, People care about each other. So for me, it was not a big thing. It was just the language. When David starts speaking Patois, I'm switching off because I can't follow that language.
All right. Well, I'm going now to you, David, and
Sure.
feel free, folks, to jump in wherever. So tell us, David, how did you end up in Namibia, or how did you get to Namibia?
I think Renee would love to have given you that answer. Um, well, we ended up here because I'm married to a Namibian, and she did not enjoy, because we lived in Europe for a while and she didn't enjoy it. So we made a decision. It was either going to be Jamaica or here. And I think I yielded to the fact that Namibia was wide open spaces. I like open spaces. I like large spaces. And also, one of the things that attracted me to Namibia was the hope that I would have finally got a chance. You grow up, you listen to Bob and all these others, and you think of, Africa. So you say, well, okay, let's go and entrench yourself there. And I have, but the irony is, and this is going to shock a lot of people, because we are next door to South Africa and Botswana, Zambia, and Angola, and so on, and Zimbabwe. And the irony is that I consider the capital where I live to be Africa light. And it feels sometimes like I'm still in Miami or London or something like that, which is quite shocking for an
Really?
African
Yeah.
city. Yes.
It's very cosmopolitan, I would
Yeah.
say. And German. The German influence is a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you for example, like the kids go to former white schools, because, as you know, Namibia was under apartheid. So so the schools still have that feel. In my son's school in particular, I think
It's
there's
just
only
white
two non-white teachers there,
Yeah.
for example. So so you don't, when you're in the capital, you don't. But when I go out into the field, so you go rural and so on. And in the case of Namibia, you've got to go really deep rural. It's not in your face as you leave the capital. You've got to really go deep rural before you feel it. So yeah. So as a Jamaican,
So you ended there. You ended up there because of love.
yeah, well, I suppose that would be the quick boundary there. But I was thinking long term. Also, I mean, of course, you have to be in love, I suppose, for you to think like that you're going to be there long term. And I am happy to say that I'm kind of entrenched in the Namibian society now. So you could probably speak to a government official and they would know who I am, and without being on the police records.
well, I know that you're also involved with, as one of the Jamaica diaspora reps there, I believe, and so you still wear the flag proudly and so on in Southern Africa there.
Yes, because I'm currently the council member for Africa, so not just for Namibia or Southern Africa, but for Africa. For the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, in terms of that. So yeah, so I am involved in the Jamaican community, and where I can, I do try and interact as much as possible, and of course provide advice. Yes.
Not that the community is big, but we actually a lot with the whole of the Caribbean countries here.
Mm-hmm.
We try to really meet up on a regular basis. And it's not only Jamaicans, it's like from
Antigua, Barbuda,
St.
Lucia, yeah,
Barbados, and those people, yeah. So they are all around, and we always try to be as one. I mean,
and you can see that Renee is now part of the community.
Yeah,
she's a CARICOM. So she is telling you about proud Namibian, but at the same time, she's a CARICOM girl.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's good to know. So, I know Renee may jump in a little bit more because she may give you some looks or she may not. But my next question is, tell us about, and also Travis, because they are, for all intensive purposes, This is their country, right? But
But I must give this quick disclaimer. I am officially a Namibian, and
okay,
so we are in that sense Namibians.
all right.
So we travel as a family as Namibians. When we
I listen, you came as a family, and I love it. I love it. So the question is, tell us about the Namibian people. You know, what are they like in terms of even just their nature, in terms of, just how they are.
Well, Renee's been itching to get to this question, but before she does,
I wanted you first.
Yeah,
I wanted you first, and then Renee.
Yeah, but one of the things that I will clarify is that as a Jamaican, when you get here, one of the things you will realize after a while is that it is not a homogeneous society. There's a number of different traditions, cultures that make up Namibia. And then, of course, you hear the different languages. So, like sometimes you could assume that you could use color to determine what the language will be. You will be surprised. And one of my friends, God rest her soul, was telling me of an incident where they were at an airport and they were speaking one of the local languages, and they were teasing this old man, this old white gentleman at the airport. And they were there for like about half an hour talking about this man, having their laughs and everything else. And just as the plane was ready to board, and so everybody lines up, the gentleman came over to them and started speaking to them in their language. And she said since that, she has never assumed what language people speak. And one of the classics for me, which I suppose is a later question you probably had, but one of the classics for me is that Travis, I don't know what happened, but I was speaking to Travis. I think I was annoyed, and I was speaking to Travis quite sternly. And this white gentleman came over to me like, "Where did you learn to speak English like that?" And I was like, "It's my normal language." And it's like, "No, it's better than mine. Where did you learn to speak English?"
There's still a lot that ethnic
tension
around there. But in Namibia, we have like 12 ethnic groups, and I'm one of them. I'm from where I'm coming from, I'm a Basta. And we are like our forefathers, the great-grandparents came from South Africa. And my father's family was from the slavery part, but that was now generations back. So I'm coming from a small town 80 kilos from Windhoek, the city of Namibia. And I will say the people is generally friendly, accommodating, but you sometimes have that
undertone
of
if I may just follow up on that. So it's you have 12 men, but there are other subcultures within. So I don't want to get into the numbers game, because sometimes you do get your knuckles wrapped.
We don't want to get you in trouble.
But there are a number. But thanks for that, Xavier. So there are a number of different cultures, and so my wife is speaking about primarily her culture, and so you have a number of other cultures, and depending on the region that you're in, you will find them more dominant. But every culture is right across the country. But as I said, each region has its more dominant culture. So you can have those that are Kwanyama, you have Ndangas, you have Herero, you have Himba, Damaras, Namas, and so on and so forth. And I don't want any of my friends that to be upset that I didn't mention.
No, listen, I don't want you to forget any. So please, I put him on the spot.
No, it's not as bad as I'm probably making it sound. But I'm just saying that my friends are like, "Oh, you didn't pick up my culture," and whatever it is.
So if you missed your culture, folks, just put the name of your culture in the comments if we missed your culture. But let me ask you this question. And I know, as you said, it's 12 cultures probably, or 12 different areas, subcultures and so forth. But like they'd say in Jamaica, we're kind of laid back. right? Soon come, whatever the case is. Do you find generally in your area now, because maybe one culture is kind of, or one tribe or people are dominant in where you are, do you find any traits that you kind of said, and I don't want to generalize or stereotype, but maybe there is, or maybe there isn't. There's something that you say, oh, they're laid back, or they're very formal, or they're, you know what I'm saying? Any?
Yeah. No, I get you. What I would say is that there's a little bit of everything in the different cultures. So, for example, I didn't even mention the Khoisan. So the Khoisan are very respectful, for example, not that the other cultures aren't. And so that's something that I would find when you go deep rural, because I do a lot of deep rural work, and so on. And when you go deep rural, you'll find that the people are respectful to you. But one of the things that I have noticed is that of all the cultures, at first there is a certain, like, who are you? The very first time you arrive, who are you? What are your intentions? But as long as your intentions are known and it becomes accepted, then you'll find people will go out of their way to help you in any way, shape, or form. I give a quick one. I ran out of fuel in one location that we were working in, and the guys literally just went around and got fuel for us and arranged for how they would get the fuel back. So they were accommodating in that sense. And we're talking, and just to put this in context, so we drove, like, we all of us were on holiday once, and we drove from Montego Bay, and we stopped in Falmouth, of course, big up Falmouth, and then we went on to stay in St. Anne, which I'm also, as I tell you, that I have my roots also in St. Anne. And we stayed in Ocherias. And when we got there, we checked the odometer, and it said 80 kilometers. And we all started laughing because we had spent 3 hours. We spent 3 hours traveling from Montego Bay to get to this place. Now, in Namibia, that would have been a 40-minute drive on one straight road, and we'd have just arrived in our first town.
Yeah.
But now we've driven past Ironshore, Falmouth, Saltmarsh, you name the towns we've driven past, Rio Bueno. Right. But in Namibia, we'd have just arrived in the first town.
Yeah.
So it just gives you a context in terms of the distances we have to travel here when you're moving from one place to the other. And so on.
Okay. Let me ask this. Language, you touched a little, we kind of touched a little bit on it, but is there an official language, and what is it?
English is official. And I grew up Afrikaans.
So and there's other, and so each tribal group has their language, and so English is the one that's supposed to officially cut across. Now, originally during apartheid, it is my understanding that Afrikaans was the language that they were trying to use as the main language. So if you went to a school, they were trying to ensure that you learned Afrikaans. Now, funny enough, the school curriculum still keeps Afrikaans in it, and German, but English is the main language that you're expected to learn once you've passed grade 4, I think it is. So between grade 0, they call it grade 0 preschool, and grade 4, I think, and I hope I get that right, you can learn your home language. So whatever language is, you can be given your instructions in that language. But from 5 onwards, I think it should be English and one other language, which could be your home language.
So Travis, what's your home language, sir?
It is English.
And Monique, did you have a home language?
Teacher is Afrikaans, but there you go.
But they all can speak Afrikaans
and German.
And Monique and Travis can speak German. So I think they're trilingual.
Nice.
But Afrikaans, they just speak in Namibia, in South Africa. You can't take it any further.
Right. So you can't say you're I don't know if there's a word for being fourlingual. I'm gonna believe that Monique may have some of the Jamaican language there, and I don't know, again, four-lingual? Are you, Monique?
This may surprise you, but I think my brother actually
Yeah.
speaks better Patois than I do.
He does actually, and
Yeah.
he's pretend. I don't know why he's pretending now. He's being so reserved, but he's the one that speaks the most Patois with me in the house. Even if I'm speaking.
Wow.
So here's what'll happen. If I come into the house or for whatever reason I switch to Patois, they know I'm upset. And he'll start talking to me in Patois. Monique will answer in English, and my wife will just cover her ears.
Well, listen, it's not an angry language, folks. I don't want people to believe it's an
No.
angry language. We just, as parents, tend to bust out in a patois, bust out in Jamaican.
No, but here's the funny thing.
Because we want to express, it's a very expressive language, and there's some words that just
you can't use anything else for.
Exactly.
But it's the same. I was going to say the same thing.
Because when I'm upset,
She speaks Afrikaans.
I speak
Only
Afrikaans,
Afrikaans.
and I say what I want to say, whether I understand it or not. I just
There's no
blow
English
it
at that
out.
point when she's angry. So but I love it because at that point I just listen. I mean, I do understand Afrikaans a bit, but I listen to that point because she's so angry. She's taken out a whole thesaurus and vocabulary that I don't understand, and then I just listen and I'm like, okay, you finished? By then it calms up. So yeah, it helps.
So let's talk about food. What is the food like? And then if there was one dish that you would recommend, so I have four of you here, so everybody could give me a dish. If I was to visit, or any of the viewers here were to visit, what would that one dish be that you'd say, try this, you gotta try this?
Travis, I'm gonna ask Travis to answer first. And please don't say bread.
No, well, I believe that bread is universal, but although there are variants, I believe that
What should he
biltong.
try? What's biltong? Okay,
Biltong is quite,
Yeah.
unique to Southern Africa.
So
Yeah.
what is it? What is Milton?
biltong. It's biltong, and
Biltong.
it's ILTONG, and it's dried meat.
Dry spicy meat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And have it in different versions. So you have like the I suppose it's similar to a jerky,
Yeah.
but without the sugar. It's not contaminated. And sorry guys, I have to say that because as a true Namibian now, you defend your issues. And so biltong is uncontaminated meat, no sugar, just a little bit of preservative salt. And there is also an added trick to it. It is very few places in the world that you could make biltong in the way that they do here. And that is because the humidity, the air here has very little moisture in it.
Yeah.
So it's very dry. It literally just dries out your skin and stuff like that. So, and bear in mind that for us, average temperatures are around 30 degrees Celsius in the summertime. Although we're sitting here in jerseys and stuff like that, because it's the winter is just ending now.
And I learned that. I learned, everybody thinks, okay, the continent of Africa, it's all hot. And, I did, told a story of a family in South Africa, and they were like, no, it's cold now. It's winter now. And
yeah,
and
exactly.
So like, oh,
but
yes.
yeah, I'm Gladstone. Were you speaking to Gladstone? I think
yes.
Yeah. And by the way, Gladstone and I had dinner a few weeks ago since he was here because he passed through. So as the community is small, so we do kind of know each other.
Awesome.
But yes, it does, because we were in the Rehoboth area about 3 weeks ago, and we left a bucket of water outside, and we woke up the next morning, it was frozen.
Wow.
So
yeah,
and,
killing the stereotype for folks who think it's all warm. So
no, but the summer though.
June, July is our winter.
But December, January, you
yes.
don't play around. People have died here also from dehydration. Just trying to go from one town to the next.
Wow. So Monique, what would you recommend?
I would recommend kapana.
Okay.
Explain.
Yeah.
Okay, so I normally go to single quarters in Katutura, so in like informal settlement, and they cut up pieces of beef right there, and then they fry it kind of like on a grill, as you would say. Yeah, so small pieces of beef cut up, and we have it with salsa and with fetcook, which is kind of like dumplings,
Okay.
fried dumpling.
So
Right.
so imagine, sorry, Xavier. So imagine like a butcher. So Jamaican, like the butcher just killed,
Right.
and they have the meat there, and they just cut off pieces,
Little
and then they
pieces.
cut it up into little, the smallest pieces as possible, and then they just start grilling it right then and there, on a flat grill, with I suppose a little bit of oil and stuff like that, and yeah.
Okay.
But it's not. But it's
Kind of like how we get jerk pork on the side of the road,
Yeah.
and Bami and festival.
the only thing is the difference is, I said, the meat is there, and then they're cutting it off, so it's not it's not prepared already. It's prepared as you're standing there.
Fresh meat right
Fresh
there.
meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is it seasoned?
Yes, you get Kapana spice. They even have their own spice.
Mix, but funny enough, it doesn't go in while they're cooking it.
Yeah,
You
put
add
on
it after,
afterwards.
so the meat is literally it's literally just meat on the grill.
Okay. All right.
But there is a thing about Namibian meat that, to be fair, it personally, I don't think it really needs that much seasoning, and that is because the winter season that we're complaining about, the grasses are so dry, they're like herbs. So the animals have literally, because it's a desert, so the animals have literally been seasoning themselves as they've been growing. So the meat is quite. Yeah,
I like that one. They're literally seasoning themselves as they grow.
yeah,
I love
self-prepared. Yeah.
So, David, your favorite. What would you recommend?
Now, this is where the Jamaican in me comes through. I would recommend lobster, crayfish. They call it crayfish here. And that's, I drive literally about 800 miles to get the best lobster.
Crayfish, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. You crave crayfish and you drive 800 miles to go get it.
Yeah. 10 hours of driving, because I don't want the police to find out that I traveled any faster. So 10 hours of driving. We spend the weekend there. I get good crayfish. Or if I want the second best, then I'll drive 300 miles. And then I can.
This crayfish has to be really good for you to drive this far.
It's the best you get, and it's not so expensive as what you would have paid in the US for it.
Yeah. It's quite good, but if you want it fresh, because of those distances, if you want it fresh, you don't want to go to get that frozen stuff and whatever it is. So if you want to get it where the guys have literally just caught it the day before or whatever, and then it's not expensive either. So you literally sit, like a normal meal will be 2 or 3 lobsters served in the one meal.
Wow.
And they always look at me crazy because I order 2, because I've just driven 800 miles. So yeah.
My wife, who only eats seafood, would love this.
So you gotta come, and it's called the best for me in Namibia is in Luderitz, which is nearly the extreme south of the country, and the second best, sorry guys, is Walvis Bay or Swakopmund.
You're gonna start a comment war in here for some people who say no, this one is the best, this one is the best. Like with a jerk sometime.
Yeah.
This jerk man down here, or this jerk man here.
Quite frankly, I don't even think when they talk about the rock lobsters and whatever it is from the Hamptons that they would compare. It is good quality.
All right.
Because it's on. Yeah.
Renee, what would you recommend?
Braaivleis and roosterbrood.
we were waiting for that. The kids and I, we were waiting to hear mommy say
That's
that.
why they didn't mention it, because braaivleis is like a barbecue. but just
Okay.
better than what they barbecue in the UK or
Or the
any other
US.
place or the
Yeah.
US.
Yeah.
It's proper lamb that you put on a
Over coals.
over coals,
yeah.
and then the bread is also over coals. So
Yeah. So they do everything. So just like how you'd go to, like when you go to Fate's Pen and
Right.
you would see an open grill. But instead of pots, there's actual meat on the grill again. So Namibians like their meat, and it's a heavy meat culture. I was having a laugh with a colleague the other day that says that whenever you see vegetables, it was just there for decoration. It wasn't just we were there to eat the meat, and so my opposite of the meat is the crayfish.
So I think if I was to visit, my wife would take the 10-hour trip, and I would stay right there because they say I love meat. They say I'm the meat dog. So
yeah, you can get everything
Yeah,
here.
and because like for example, one of the things that surprised me when I got here and they said I'm a farmer, I was hoping to see fields of yam, banana, whatever, and everybody just said you're a farmer, and immediately it's cattle farming, sheep farming, or goat farming or so, and they do, if you plant something that's vegetable, vegetarian thing, you're like an outlier. Oh yeah, there are some places where they grow corn or potato or
right,
whatever it is.
right.
Yeah.
I see. Let me ask. I'm gonna switch up topics a little bit, and I'm gonna put probably Renee first on the spot with this question. So, what did you think of Jamaicans? Or you probably never met a Jamaican. Dave, I don't know if David is the first Jamaican you met, but what was your view of Jamaica before even meeting David or meeting a Jamaican? What did you think of the country?
I always you mean like Jamaica before I met David?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean I just heard about Jamaica and the nice beaches and stuff like that. So I never really was. I mean, it was a far place for me that I would have never seen in my lifetime. So yeah, it is, and I was quite surprised when I really visited it. So
Okay.
yeah,
And
yeah.
did you when you think of Jamaica, what would have been the first thing that came to mind for you? Just the beaches? Was there
You
anything
know,
else?
I must tell you this because the first time I went to Jamaica, I must give the country their credit what service is concerned. Because compare it to this part of the world and where I'm staying, it's not so good. You guys are tops what service is concerned. And even the hotels and places we stay in, it was just the people are just very nice and helpful and stuff like that. So I always, when I speak about Jamaica, I always tell them, I hope our hospitality people can just send their people there to learn something and come back.
That is a great compliment. And
Yeah.
one of the first times I'm, in terms of hearing it outside of maybe the hotel people, but great compliment. We'll
Yeah,
take
no, they were always helpful. And I mean, Travis was now twice there and he's in his lifetime. And we don't know about Travis during the day. So they pick him up in the mornings and they drop him off at 7 o'clock. So it is just the service in the hotels is just nice. And overall, the people are very friendly.
nice.
Mm.
Now I'm going over to Travis. Now, when your friends, you must have mentioned to your friends you went to Jamaica, right? What's the questions your friends ask? What are they thinking? Give me an idea here.
Well, usually they ask about either the food or the people. But to be honest, I don't really like speaking to them about it because I wouldn't want to give them a misconstrued, you know, you know,
Run.
imagination or
Okay. All right. What about you, Monique? When you tell your friends that you were born in Jamaica, what are some of the questions you get?
Firstly, they never believe me because who's born in Jamaica and lives in Namibia? And the the number one question that I get, which I don't know if
No, just go.
we're gonna keep this, is do you smoke weed? That's the only thing that they ever ask me.
Okay.
And I tell everyone, Bolt is my cousin because who's going to
Yeah, we're from Falmouth, so could be true.
You never know. My wife and I have been having this debate because there are Bolts in their family tree. So I tease her all the time. I say, Bolt is your cousin.
Exactly.
So I come to you, David. When you tell people you're Jamaican, when you first moved there to Namibia, what were the questions and the thoughts that, things people said?
Well, there's two sides to it. So there's let's do the bad side first, and then I'll bring the good side in. So the bad side is just like what Monique said. It always goes to ganja, marijuana, whatever, and of course they ask, where's my locks? So those
Yeah.
those are some of the stereotypes that exist here, which is ironic because Jamaica had a contingent of police officers here at the end of apartheid as part of the UN mission.
Resolution 435.
Yeah,
before
resolution
independence.
for independence. But on the good side of it, now this is also something that's quite funny to me. Most times people will think that I speak one of the local languages because I look like I could be from any one of the Black tribes. So people try to have conversations with me, or they hear me speaking English and like, where do you pick up that English or whatever? And then you mention Jamaica and then it lightens up. And so much so, and I hope it doesn't get the officer into trouble, I was stopped for speeding because, as I say, we do a lot of distances here. And the police officer, they don't even speak. They just point. They're like, come over here, bring your license. So I got there and I was like, he looked at my license and then he's like, what kind of name is this? Because he expects a local name. He's like,
Right.
what kind of name is that? And I'm like, no, it's Jamaican. Do you got these white names? And he's like, yeah, that's what Jamaicans have. They have white names. And he's like, drive slower. And he just hands me out the license. And in another situation, the guy says, where are you from? And I said, Jamaica. And he says, I was in Cuba, because a lot of Namibians went to school in Cuba during the apartheid years as part of the liberation struggle. So he's like, oh, okay, so you're my brother. I was like, yeah. So you're still gonna find me? And he's like, no, just. So there are those sort of interventions that would, and I must say, Jamaica is thought of very, very highly in Namibia, very, very highly, and so I strive and tell colleagues like the other Jamaicans and so on that are here that it is our responsibility to keep that going. There is not to be fair, I've not heard a negative comment other than the ganja thing about Jamaica here.
Nice. Food, well, we talked a little bit about food, but I want to go to cost of living. And what would the average dish, as a measurement, what would the average meal cost at a median restaurant there in Namibia?
Probably about 25, 30 US, I would say would be a reasonable measure.
Okay, not bad.
If you went to a top end, it would be maybe at the best, maybe 120, 140 US.
Ooh.
And you could find places where you could get something to eat in the 30s, 40s.
Okay.
In US dollars.
And I know cost of living, I used it as a measure, but what do you think? Is a cost of living, high, low, medium, relative?
All right. So here's what I've got to clarify a lot of the things with. We are discussing life in the capital. And so the capital is a different measure from most of the other towns. And as I said, we've got the distances. So the capital is considered to be prime for schools, healthcare, and that sort of thing. So if I was to go to the extreme north or extreme south, I'd probably get somewhere to rent, for example, or buy for maybe
2,000 $2,000.
yeah, maybe like
Like
25% of what I pay in the capital.
Okay. Okay.
So the variants are that wide. But if you compare us in terms of, for example, the cost of housing, I could probably buy 2 houses of a better standard meaning like with a swimming pool, whatever, than you pay in Namibia, in Vindu.
Okay.
So
No.
Cape Town, Cape Town is a
Yeah,
major
Cape Town or Pretoria, you
yeah.
might get a better house
for half the cost.
for half the cost than what you get in Namibia, because here housing is very expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. No, South Africa, and again, the history, the ties, the connections are right there. Do people, travel back and forth on a regular basis? Is it like a lot of commerce that happens between South Africa and Namibia? And what's that like? And relation, you mentioned you had family from South Africa.
Commerce, I think the bulk coming from South Africa.
80%
coming from
of
South
our
Africa.
imports are from South Africa.
And what food is concerned, so we import that from South Africa.
Okay.
Holidays, if you're coming to Namibia in December, you might find nobody here. Because everyone either go up to their homesteads in the north, or Swakop where the beach is, and South Africa.
Yeah. So we interact a lot with South Africa. One of the things I like is that I can drive, which we've done many times. We can drive to Cape Town, drive to Johannesburg, drive to Pretoria, and so on. And as I said, it's 10 hours to get to my crayfish in Namibia. It's 14 hours to get to Cape Town. So it's just another
sleep halfway.
So it's just another 4 hours of driving, and
Yeah.
I'd have been in Cape Town and near Cape Agulhas, which is basically the as far south as you could go in Africa. So I would just be 4 hours from that end. In terms of commerce, 80%, and it's mostly brought by trucks. So there's a lot of trucks on these roads moving between the two countries. Some go via Botswana because it's a shorter route to Johannesburg, or they go directly along the length of Namibia if they're going to Cape Town. And of course, some people avoid driving through Botswana. It just depends on the companies and so on. So the culture, and I can tell you this, when we go on holiday to South Africa, we don't even look at the South African stores as such, because we also have the same stores here and the same products. So it just might be a larger variety, I suppose, for women. So I know she comments on it. For me, I don't even look at them because it's exactly what I would have. And the currencies are 1 to 1.
Okay.
If something costs $100 here, Namibian dollars, it'll be $100.
Okay, I see. Now, what would you say, and this one is mainly David, was one of the biggest adjustments you had to make, living in Jamaica, living in Europe, and then moving to Namibia?
I think the first one, well, Renee's prompting me, but here, I would say language has been one of them. So what I found initially when I got here was that if I was pushing back on something at work or something, they would just switch to a local language and just cut you out. So that could happen. It doesn't happen anymore. And of course, I've learned quite a bit of the local languages, so much so sometimes they get confused. But you then understand what people are saying, or if they're annoyed, or if they're speaking about you, or whatever it is. So my biggest adjustment initially for me was trying to adjust to the fact that everywhere shut at 5 o'clock. And if on a Saturday, which you would have thought was a commerce day, everything that you wanted at that time shut at 1 o'clock. So and they only opened at 9, and then they were shut again by 1. So you got 4 hours on a Saturday to get everything done. It's changed a bit with the new shopping centers and malls, that you can now shop on most Saturdays, and you can now shop on a Sunday. When you want to buy alcohol, the alcohol hours here are different. So,
Right.
and I'm not a big alcoholic, so let me emphasize by saying that. But you're used to the convenience wherever you are, that you could just grab something. So you felt like you wanted to go home and impress my wife and come with a bottle of wine. Now here you've got to plan it. You can't just grab it. You've got to plan it. So between 9 and 7 are the only times you can buy alcohol Monday to Friday, between 9 and 1 o'clock on a Saturday, and you cannot get it at all on a Sunday. There's no alcohol after 1 o'clock on a Saturday.
All right.
So that was one of the things that I had to adjust to. But because I'm not an alcohol person, it wasn't a big deal. I think the bigger deal for me was trying to get normal things done. So you want to relax, you want to get shopping done. You realize you don't have something, but by the time you leave work at 5, they're closed at 5. So initially it was a problem. Now it's not a
You
big
work
deal.
around, you figure it out. So
yeah, you figured it out. Yeah.
So let me ask this question. Is there a custom that when you got there to Namibia, you said, this is very interesting, or, a little different than what I'm used to? It may be, for example, I've heard, marriage customs, or the way I have to ask for my wife's hand in marriage, I have to do this. Or, it may be how I greet people, I have a specific way. Any customs you found that were interesting and something that you had to adjust to?
Yeah. All right, so let me deal with the marriage one first. I'm lucky, I'm into a tribal and family as well, the in-laws that are quite modern, and that's so there was nothing for me to adjust to where that was concerned.
Okay,
I think the biggest adjustment there was just the language.
You didn't have to carry a cow or a couple cows for Renee's hand.
No.
Just brought my wallet. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so you just basically had to be you. So that's why I said I was lucky. I've not had to make any adjustments where that is concerned. The one that I've had to adjust, which is nothing to do with the family or so on, is that there are certain ways that you greet certain elders and things like that. So we had a meeting once in South Africa, and I got there and I was talking to my colleagues, and we're there because we flew in from Namibia and then we drove to this place, and we were having our discussions. And then we saw the people that we were supposed to be meeting pick up their chairs and leave, because it's these villages and they have these chairs. And I asked the guys what's wrong, and they said they don't understand why this black guy is speaking English. And so we had to explain to them that I was Jamaican, and then the guys came back and they were very happy, and they were like, "Oh, okay, we finally met a Jamaican," and so on. And they, in that case, they interacted. So there are some things you've got to adjust with. So one of the primary things I do now, before I go to any rural area to carry out the work that I do, is to find out who's the local politician, so the councillor, how many traditional authorities, because you find that sometimes there are overlapping traditional authorities. We call them traditional, like tribal or headmen and so on. And you need to show that respect to all of them. You don't just turn up and, like in the days when I used to work for the power company, you don't just sound, like we'd have said when I was at JPS, I'm from JPS. You don't do that. Like, who are you? JPS? No, just go. So yeah, you have to do that.
So I'm going to flip this question around now and include Renee in this question. And it is, he's Jamaican. There may be some things that he do, and you find that you hear a lot of Jamaicans maybe do it. Anything that you can remember from the early days of the marriage where you said, this is kind of different?
Rice and peas. Sorry.
No, I will not. I mean, I can eat it. I ate the rice and peas, but at some stage I told him I grew up on rice and I just ate too much of it. So I'm not a big fan of rice and peas. but sometimes I eat it. And then otherwise, I know I can't really think about something that was so different of him that I couldn't handle or that I had to adjust to.
Okay.
I just go with the flow.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
So switching up
But
to
I,
music.
But he had a
but
lot,
I have.
especially because most of my family they can only speak Afrikaans, and sometimes he couldn't understand. Then they might speak to me in Afrikaans, and then I have to translate to him. And sometimes he think like we talk our own story and left him out and stuff like that. So, but with time, he got there
Good.
with the language.
Good. So music. Any reggae you know played in the house? Any reggae played anywhere? And
Yeah,
what's the
only
dominant?
we always listen to reggae when we drive, like when we go on holiday.
Nice. So
Yeah.
Travis,
I must
do you
must
know?
I must say this. So the type of reggae people that I listen to are most of them are in prison. So and I think you know who I'm referring to. So yeah, so I listen to that kind of reggae, which is kind of strange because you would have expected people like myself to, you know, like a burning spear and no, I'm not that type. I Beanie Man and I are the
Dance hall music.
dancehall, proper dancehall music.
No, we
Listen,
I
make
suppose I suppose I would even say, you know, skettle bum type music is my
we
thing.
met Beanie Man once on in the airport on our way back to the UK.
oh wow, nice,
In,
nice.
in,
You have
in,
pictures and everything. You got pictures with him?
Sorry?
yeah,
Yes, yeah.
we have pictures with him.
Nice, nice. So Travis, which is your favorite reggae artist and song then?
Uh,
Let's hear the truth.
uh, Personally, I really enjoy the music of Pluto Shervington.
Okay.
My favorite song is Ram Goat Leather, and I was introduced to it by my father.
Okay. All right. And Monique?
I'm obviously into, vibe, scatter, yeah, that type. Alkaline.
All right.
It's what they hear me playing. So luckily Pluto managed to slide in there. And of course the one where he's trying to convince the judge it wasn't him. But yeah, that's as smooth as it gets.
Renee, do you have a favorite song?
I just like pop because this is what I grew up with, and every time when I want to listen to reggae, I just put the pop song on.
All right. David, I won't ask you a favorite, but I'll give you this. I do play Vibes Cartel. I love summertime is
Yeah.
when my family is in a down mood, you put on Summertime by Vibes Cartel and you're gonna get everyone in my house dancing. So so I get it.
Yeah, but for me, one of the things that we do, so I have like the entire Bob Marley suite. So I have like, for example, Babylon by Boss and so on. And so when we go in, I mean, 10 hours of driving is a long time. So you need a lot of music. So of course you can see where the family is indoctrinated into the type of music. Some of them I have to skip at times, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, listen, Jarrett family, I know it's late there, and I thank you for staying up, spending some time telling us about Namibia. I'm winding down, and here's a question I have. If I was to visit Namibia, and I want to do something, tell me an event or a place or something you'd say if you come to Namibia. You must do this, whether it be there's a specific, type of event that happens at this time of the year, or whether it's this place that is 10 hours away where I must try the lobster, or whether it's this building that I must see. What would that be for each of you? What would that be?
I'll go first, and I will say that I would recommend to any Jamaican that visits Namibia that I know people will tell you about the animals and whatever, but you've got to go to a place called Sossusvlei, which is one of the world's largest deserts, and it has one of the highest dunes and that sort of stuff. And it has a what is known as a dead flay or a dead field of trees that have calcified over the years, and they just it's really beautiful. And the irony is that there are two different times of year that it has two different looks. So when there's a rainy season, there's like a what they refer to as a pan or a pond, and then it has that view and look. And then there's a time during the December period when it's dry and you just see the sand glistening like a golden sand, just glistening for miles. And then it just goes.
Awesome.
And there are those who have been brave enough and walked it. I haven't. I'm too lazy. So.
And the canyon is not far from there, so you can visit the canyon. The second largest canyon in the world is in Namibia, so
Okay.
you can. It's not far from from Sossusvlei. And then the other place is Swakopmund, where you can do skydiving, camel rides, quad biking into the dunes and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's your
So if you
recommendation.
want beach. So where Renee says it's close to beach, where I'm telling you,
desert meets the ocean. So.
yeah.
Nice,
So
nice.
she's giving you both at the same time. So for
All right.
Travis,
I see Travis put up his hand. Go ahead, sir.
Well, as my father said before, the animals. When most people think about Africa, they think about animals. So I would advise for you to go to the Etosha National Park, where the majority of the big five are present.
All right. Monique.
I think my
Cassie
family
vibes.
has,
Sorry.
I think
Cassie vibe.
I think my family has mentioned everything. There are
No.
lots of beautiful things
Zambezi?
and places to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Zambezi is probably also just the animals you'll see.
And
Elephants,
beautiful lodges and stuff like
yeah,
that.
elephants, crocodiles, hippos. So yeah, lots of beautiful animals to see. And the nice thing about being in Namibia is just driving along the road. You don't have to particularly go to a
A special
specific
place. Yeah.
place to see animals. You'll see giraffes on the side of the road,
Kudus, springboks.
elephants, like
Warthogs. Yeah.
in
Nice.
close proximity with the
Yeah.
animals.
Giraffes.
the wild
Just
animals.
driving on the road,
Yeah.
you'll see them.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So
Well, I hope you start planning that trip now to the side of Africa.
Yeah.
I hope to visit South Africa and Namibia. And
Okay.
not knowing that it's close and hearing about this lobster, I gotta get there for the lobster.
Definitely.
So let me ask this question, and this probably is going to be more David than anyone else. And it's a scenario. You land in Jamaica, you get off the plane. What's that first thing you're doing? Some people it's food. Some people say I'm dipping in the beach. Some people, what's that first thing you're doing?
There's two things we do as a routine, and if I'm there alone, it's the same routine. If we're there as a family, it's the same routine. We stop along near Saltmarsh, I think it is. There's a fish place that I always stop. I'm trying to remember the name now, but we always stop for fish between Montego Bay and Falmouth. That's the first thing that has to be done. We haven't reached the hotel yet. We haven't done anything yet, but we've got to have fish and bami, and of course a red stripe. And then I always go and visit my parents' graves in Falmouth.
Okay.
That's a routine.
Yeah, it's the first thing. This
Yeah,
is
we
the
do.
first things we do.
That's a routine.
All right.
And then that is done. We can party, we can do whatever. Anything else can happen, but those two must be done before the hotel.
Nice.
You're not allowed to check in until you've done those two.
Nice.
But
Nice. So here is how I typically end. How do you say goodbye in the most informal way in the language? And I know there are multiple languages you said and multiple people and tribes, but the one you're most comfortable in? Jamaicans will say, little more ketchup on the strong, whatever, later, whatever. How would you say it informally there in Namibia?
I would give that one to Renee, because for me, it depends on who, what, where. But normally the most common one would be in Afrikaans, and I think she'll say it best.
Yeah, it's always, we always greet each other with a hug and even the goodbye as well. And then we will just say bye, tot ziens, sien jou weer.
I
Wait,
think
wait.
the more Namibia.
Remember, you're
Tot
teaching
ziens.
me. Senior Veer.
Tot ziens, sien jou weer. Bye, see you again.
Okay. Tot ziens, Senior Veer.
Yeah.
You got it.
You got it.
Or an easier one, which the youngsters.
The youngsters.
normally do.
Now you see why it wasn't me.
That's what I want to hear. Let's hear what the youngsters say.
You just say shop.
Shop.
What is the Namibian thing that
Shop.
is always used? That sign of the
Yes.
finger.
No, yeah, but he does it differently. But yeah, it's normally shop.
Yeah,
You say
shop.
Shop. Like
Shop.
South Africans also use it. So they're like, it's shop.
Shop.
You can either use one or two, which is
So
basically
Jarrett
in
family.
English as shop.
Jarrett family, thank you again. So to sin Senior Veer and shop.
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 You did it.
Bye-bye.
All right, all the best.
Show some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.